Yep.
Okay, so we've got a straight edge with the groove there, and we've got the cutter with grooves on both sides. So it's with the cutter slit into the groove, you can just run smoothly either way. Okay, and then we've got two types of board with me. We've got the mount board and a backing board. The backing board's much thinner. Okay, right, so first off, if the board has got a front and back to it, and this board doesn't really, I can't tell the difference between the two. But choose which side you want with the back, and we do the marking up on the back. Okay, measure the overall size of the image. So there I've got it at 192 millimetres. Get the right glasses on again. 192 millimetres that way by 258 millimetres that way. We're on the back of the board so we can mark it up. So I've just quickly marked up what the sizes are. Now then, before you start cutting, make a decision as to exactly how you want the image to drop into the mount. If you want the cut edge, if you just want the image itself showing with no white border, then I'd size the cut very slightly smaller than the image, so that you're going to get a little bit of adjustment on it. If you want a white border, then oversize the aperture so you've got the white border all the way around. I'm going to do the latter here. I'm going to show it with the white border all the way around. But that means you actually have to be a bit more careful with the setting out. Whatever you do, don't try and exactly match the size of the image. Because if you exactly match it, if you try to exactly match it, you'll never get it spot on, so you'll get little bits of white showing down the edges. Okay, so if I want a 5mm edge gap all the way around, that means I want 200 there, and 267 there. Right. So next of all, mark out where it is. So this board has been already cut to size, a bite cut to size. So this is 400 by 500. So mark off the 200mm in the middle. Top and bottom.
You can ask questions if you want
Yep.
to ask questions.
And run the straight lines through. Right, now then we've got 267 the other way. And I've got, as that's 400mm and my aperture wants to be 200 wide, each of those gaps, their sides are 100mm. So it's 100mm, 200mm, 100mm. I'd like to keep, I always like to have the image higher in the frame. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the same 100mm across the top and then add on the 267, so that means 367 down to there. 10, 367. Okay, so we've got the basic aperture marked out. One thing I always do then is to compare that with the photograph, just to make sure I haven't made any mistakes. So yeah, that looks good. Right, so we now get to the cutting stage. Right, so this is the back of the image, well this is the back of the print. We want the bevels coming outwards.
Steve, are you recording that?
I am recording it, yes.
No, me to know should be able to watch it.
Yeah. Right.
Come up here, stand behind him, Frank. Stand behind his shoulder.
So what were
Okay.
you saying about the bevel?
Right, the bevels are beveling out. So if you've got right, so the bevel slopes out from the print all the way around. Okay? We're cutting from the back, so you always put the scale on the outside of the line. So that when I press that, cut that through, it's slightly because as we're on the back, it's splaying outwards. Yeah. Check that you're lined up on both sides. And then start sliding the blade down. And this is the bit that takes some practice to get right. Because what you want to do is to cut through the first board, but only just into the second one. Okay, so pushed it through. And cut. Hopefully.
You get it wrong.
And I got that one wrong.
100% so far.
Yep. Then I haven't pushed it out, gone in far enough. Right. So I'm actually going to nudge it a little bit. Let's see. The chance of my hitting that line spot on is pretty slim.
Isn't on the cutter itself an indicator how far to go?
Sorry?
On the cutter itself, is there an indicator?
There isn't an indicator now.
How do you know where to start? Can you
Yeah,
see?
you just see, you just look where the line is now to try and put it in, and stop.
I've got a deluxe cutter.
Yes, there are.
It's a big thing like that. You just put the cutter in the groove and then you don't have to mess around with like that. But that is very good.
Yes, there are much more sophisticated versions of cutters than this. Pete's probably cost him, what, 100 quid?
100 quid.
Yeah.
How expensive, yeah.
They set at less than 20. So. Okay, so I'm following the same process all the way around. Just like that, yes.
Under pressure as well. Well done.
Yeah. And halfway through, I remember the things that I'd forgotten to bring with me. So I can't do the full process. Okay. So one thing you do when you're cutting, it doesn't actually matter if you overcut very slightly. That won't show on the outside. And it's much more important to overcut than undercut. If you undercut, and when you try to then remove the centrepiece from the rest, you'll leave a jagged edge in the corner. Overcut slightly in both directions. It doesn't hardly shows at all on the outside, and then you get your clean cut.
Is that why you cut from the back rather than from the
That's why yes, that's right, yeah. Well, it's partly that, and partly that you're doing all the marking up on the back as well. Because otherwise, All those pencil lines you have to carefully clean off again.
Yeah.
Okay. Next stage is to position the image in the mount.
Is that special tape?
Yeah, it's called sellotape. Okay, so just a short length, both sides. Then drop the mount down on top of it so that it's set out how you want it. Press down where the tape was, hopefully that's going to stick. Yep. Piece onto each corner, and there you've got the basic mount done. Okay, the next stage, which is the bit where I forgot what I needed, is to apply the backing sheet. But the backing boards as standard come as the full size, which is actually very slightly smaller than the mount board. And so you can just spray adhesive on that, or get the pre-adhesived boards and just stick that down over the whole lot.
Steve, if you want to show the white border as you have there,
Yep.
the white border, is that just a case of judging it as you're positioning it?
Yes. That there, well, as I dropped the mount down on top of it.
Yeah, you just position
Yes.
it visually.
I was visually judging it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And again, I've left a slightly larger board at the bottom than I have on the. So I've got, I don't know if you can see it from there, but the sides and top are pretty much a constant.
Yeah.
I've got a slightly bigger board at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right, what I normally do is to cut these boards in half, so it will then set centrally over the mount, over the image, and then I stick down around the side of that with, I think it's called artist's tape, or with the brown tape. For that purpose, don't use sellotape. I always used to, but apparently sellotape, if the prints are stacked front to back, the sellotape can damage the surface of the image of the mount
It's
behind
also
it.
got acid in it, I think.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Sellotape, some of the other tapes are non-acidic.
So, apologies, it can't show you the full process, but there you've got the basic process, and that's the end result for it.
Would you use the masking tape instead of the self-adhesive?
Sorry?
Would you use the tape instead of the glue? Would you
Um,
cut it in half?
It depends on what I'm using the image for. If I'm going to be reusing mounts, then I don't glue it. But if it's for exhibition or for an image that I might be using several times,
Yeah.
then I'll glue it down and make it permanent. One of the advantages of gluing it is that you're actually bonding the back of the photograph to the backing board.
Yeah.
So then you're almost guaranteed you don't get any wrinkles. It should be pretty much true flat. Whereas if you don't, then it can bow a bit, which does show under the lights.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Where do you get the boards from?
Right. The board is from Paper Spectrum. Okay, I've got some samples here if you'd like to look through them. So they do a varied range. So there's one of the backing boards, blues, blacks with black core or with white core.
Well, you ordered online, do you?